All right, well, tax season has begun, and this is the only time of year where we're happy to give a stranger our most precious personal information. We hand over to somebody we don't know our own and our family's social security numbers, birth dates, workplace information, financial details like bank accounts, retirement account numbers, personal information that's a gold mine for people, for criminals, because they've learned. They no longer have to put a gun in your ribs to make money. All they need is your personal information to get the tax fraud game going. And so we're here today to warn the public, make sure that they're aware of the dangers of not choosing carefully. Because being, whether you're going to be enticed by the con of a much bigger refund or payment for somebody borrowing your children, or falling for the guaranteed secret technique that's going to get you a bigger refund. The IRS expects 4,782,400 tax returns to be filed in Michigan this year in 2020. Of those, 2,581,200, 54%, are going to be filed by tax professionals. The vast majority of tax professionals, the vast majority of tax return providers, preparers, provide outstanding and professional service. I use them, they're fantastic. I have yet to find somebody who stays in business and isn't a good CPA, tax attorney, tax professional in any way. But there are some, and they're going to leave you hurting financially, they're going to leave you with a big mess to clean up, and they're going to get you in trouble if you go down the wrong road. So the things that we want people to know: learn, verify, ask, expect, review, and know. Remember, you sign it, you own it. You're responsible for your tax return. So learn the different types of tax professionals. The CPA, enrolled agent, attorney. Figure out, do I need this person to represent me before the IRS? Are my taxes that complicated? Am I concerned about it? Make sure that you know who can do what and how much. Verify their credentials. If they're a CPA, check with the CPA board. If they're an attorney, check them out with the Bar Association. Most importantly, check them out with the Better Business Bureau. Our friends at the Better Business Bureau have been very kind and generous to host us here today, and we're grateful for it, but they're a key part of this. We want you to make sure that you check out and do your homework before you hand over that precious information. Verify whether this person is in the IRS directory of federal tax return preparers. We have a directory right on our website. Put that person's name in there, see if it's valid. See if they have a PTIN, that's a Preparer Tax Identification Number. Are they going to be around? Is it an operation where they just rent out a storefront for a couple of months and then they disappear? That information you're going to be able to get through the Better Business Bureau and just doing your basic homework. And you want to ask. You want to ask them how much. You want to ask them what is it you're paying for. A lot of times you walk into a tax office to have your taxes prepared, and there isn't a big sign like a menu at a restaurant that tells you how much, for a hamburger, how much for fries. They don't have those sorts of menus in some places, and it can be intimidating. Some people just hand over their information and wait for the bill. Or they say, just take it out of my refund. You got to be careful with that. So look for red flags. Are they asking for cash only? Are they not providing a receipt? And the biggest one is part of the expect. The biggest one is, did they sign it? Because of all the things that you have to be concerned of is ghosts. They're spookier than real ghosts. They're ghost preparers. They're people who prepare your taxes, but then it's like they never did anything because they don't sign it. They don't put their name, they don't put their preparer tax identification number on it. It's like you did it yourself. And a ghost preparer is a big red flag. So expect when you're giving your information to somebody that they're going to ask you questions. A good tax professional is going to say, well, how many dependents, just to make sure that, you know, when you fill out the form, that there might be somebody missing. Do you have a mortgage? All these different things. Make sure that they're asking you questions that are appropriate for your financial life, so that you get the best kind of tax return, or lowest amount owed, or the biggest refund that you can get, whatever it is. You want to review your tax return. A lot of people just go in, they drop off their stuff, they answer the questions, they leave, they come back, they sign it, and that's it. They don't look at it. They put it in a box somewhere. You sign it, you own it. So, make sure that if you're a single guy and all of a sudden there's 4 dependents on your tax return, that's a big red flag. The IRS expects you to at least look it over. You may not understand all the intricacies of this form or that form. That's why you're going to a tax professional. But you know if you have children or not. So make sure you look it over. Make sure that you don't double but triple check those deposit account numbers. If you're expecting a refund, make sure that the routing number and the account number are yours, because we will send that refund to you 21 days or less, usually less, and we will send it to whatever account you tell us to, whether it's yours or not. So it's incumbent upon you, if you want your refund to go to your account, that you check those account numbers. You want to make sure that the deductions are right. You want to ask if you don't understand what's on your form. That's what you're paying for. And know your rights. We have a taxpayer bill of rights, and we want people to take advantage of it. Look at what rights you have, not just with the IRS, but in terms of the service that you're getting from a tax professional. And make sure that you report abusive tax preparers. We really need you to do it, because if you don't tell us, they're just going to keep abusing people. And we have some really great victims here that are going to speak at the end and tell their story of being abused and scammed by a tax preparer. But they're lucky that it didn't blow up into something else where money was, their identities were stolen, and it got worse than it can be. And they've taken some great action too. So, but the bottom line is, you want to learn about the professionals, learn the services. You want to verify, ask, expect, give the documents, expect to be asked questions, expect that it's signed, expect to have the PTIN on there. You want to review it, and you want to know your taxpayer bill of rights, and know that we're counting on you to report fraudulent tax professionals. So remember, you sign it, you own it. And without further ado, I want to again thank, and while I introduce our friends here at the Better Business Bureau. Laura Blankenship is Director of Marketing. She's been a partner with us for several years now. We very much appreciate all the work that you've done and helping us get the word out. And without further ado, Laura.
Thank you, Luis, and thank you all for being here this morning. While the Better Business Bureau is still collecting the final results for 2019, we do have some preliminary results to share with you today in regards to tax-related scams in 2019. In 2019, BBB processed over 3,600 reportable complaints against tax return preparation services and related businesses. Over 2,500 of those were against tax return preparation companies, over 730 against tax consultants, and 391 against related businesses, such as accountants. In 2019, the BBB received over 3,700 reports of scams relating to tax preparation. The Internal Revenue Service continues to be a top impersonated organization in not only 2019, but 2018 and in 2017 as well. For those who lost money last year, the median loss was $1,000. Scam tactics rely on intimidation, isolation, and pressure to act quickly. Tax collection scams often employ all three to bully their targets into compliance. Of the complaints that BBB received last year. Your local BBB received complaints regarding delay in tax preparation, errors in prepared tax preparation, failure to provide receipt for preparation, false advertising services for tax preparation services, fraudulent signatures, high charges for performance of tax preparation that were different from what was once quoted to them, non-responsive after the first encounter, such as those pop-up shops that Mr. Garcia just mentioned, overcharge for preparation of taxes that weren't found until they were contacted by the IRS, and return documentation supplied by consumers. In regards to scams that we have found in the Detroit metro area, one in particular was found by accident, actually, because something that we've learned at the Better Business Bureau is a lot of the times, if you've been scammed out of your money, you're often embarrassed or you're afraid to complain about that person. So a lot of the times, these numbers that we have here, it's usually quite higher because those people fail to report it. In the summer of 2019, while we were doing a presentation out in the Detroit community, a senior citizen approached one of our employees and notified us of something that he thought was a scam that was happening in his area. Unfortunately, there was a woman that was traveling door to door who had said that she was a tax preparer and offered to prepare taxes for $50 to senior citizens on a fixed income. She had visited a senior citizen building in Detroit and was going door to door and getting those citizens to file their taxes with her. She said that the services were only going to be $50, and when she did the taxes, she told him what he was receiving from the state. But there was never any paperwork given. It wasn't until after he received a personal check from the woman that he actually called the IRS to see what he was supposed to be given. And it was actually an additional $300. The bank account that she had given the IRS was her personal account, and she had written the gentleman a check with her personal account. According to the gentleman, he was told that the deposit into his bank account, that he would receive it, a check in the mail. Upon further investigation, he did determine that the check came from this woman. From the information we've been given, this person does not work for the related company that she had given to this man. The information on the paperwork that he actually received from the state when calling that business, she also does not work for that business. Upon hiring an attorney, the gentleman's attorney subpoenaed all materials relating to his taxes. And when receiving the documents, he received the paperwork that was filed, which had a signature on it, which he claims is not his signature, and can prove that it was not his signature. Unfortunately, he could not be here with us today, but a few other tenants from his building are here and are willing to speak with you after the press conference. Unfortunately, this woman is back on the street and is going door to door again this year already. There are a few resources that BBB has for anyone that finds themselves in a similar situation. You can file a complaint against any business at bbb.org/complaint. You can file a scam report or fraud, even if you haven't lost any money, but there was an attempt at fraud. You can file a complaint for that scam at bbb.org/scam-tracker. You can learn more about avoiding scams at bbb.org/avoid-scams. And you can report any questionable or deceptive ad to bbb.org/adtruth. Thank you.
And that's one of the techniques that a lot of these scammers use is word of mouth. They'll find somebody who can get you a really big, they'll find an initial person, falsify a bunch of information, lard them up with all kinds of deductions that aren't true, get them a gigantic refund, and say, spread the word. And then they spread the word, and all of a sudden the customers come to them. They do the same thing, except they start to take a cut of that money. And while they're putting these people in danger and in trouble, And in some cases, just taking the money and also doing a double victimization of taking their personal information and selling it. Now, our next speaker is Marshall Hunt. Marshall Hunt has been with us at the IRS for 34 years, and then we finally got rid of him in 2001. But we can't stop the guy. Almost 20 years with the Accounting Aid Society, helping people who really need the help. And he knows more, he has forgotten more about tax law than most tax attorneys know. So, Marshall Hunt, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Louis. He is right. I've forgotten more than a lot of people know, and that's a problem. I want to talk a little bit about no-cost tax services that are available. I prefer the term no-cost. When you say free, sometimes people think the quality isn't there, but we provide the highest quality returns at Accounting Aid and a number of other programs throughout the area and the country. There's free in-person assistance provided by trained volunteers with volunteer income tax assistance, VITA, tax counseling for the elderly, PCE, or AARP tax aid. They've all passed IRS certification tests and have been vetted as volunteers. So if you want more information about free or no-cost services available, IRS.gov has a great lookup where you can go online, enter your zip code, and find all of the free services available. There's also, for self-preparation, there's free file online at IRS. So we encourage you to look at all options. There is a need for paid professionals with the more complex returns, but we've gotten some good tips on that. But consider looking at free preparation. Just a quick word about Accounting Aid. We help thousands of people each year. We're open year-round. We touch about 22,000 lives each year through tax preparation and other services. We also have a low-income taxpayer clinic that I direct where we help people year-round with IRS controversies. And we've also working very closely with Mayor Duggan's office on the Earned Income Tax Credit. There's a taxathon at Durfee Innovation Society this Friday and Saturday, and there are appointments still available on Friday. You can call 211 for that. A few appointments left. Just a quick word on paid professionals. I think they've hit it very well, but my experience is check the credentials, check the fees, make sure you know what you're being charged for, make sure somebody is available after April 15th to help you out, and there's some really valuable credits out there, earned income credit, child tax credit. They can generate large refunds, but if it sounds too good to be true, check it out carefully. It might be too good to be true. Okay.
And I would say, if you've got somebody who is trained using IRS guidance, using IRS vetted software, has been vetted by the Accounting Aid Society, they're going to do and you qualify, and you're going to get your taxes done for free. Why wouldn't you do it? Why would you insist on paying somebody? So I think more people would take advantage of that if they knew. And I also want to put in a plug for our free file program. If you make less than $69,000 a year, you can use the brand name software, all the big names, depending on what your interests are, totally for free. File it electronically, use direct deposit, and you can get your refund in less than 21 days. So keep that in mind. Our next speaker is with the Michigan Department of Treasury. She's an outreach coordinator, and Sarah Russell is somebody who is out there talking to people, and she's had a lot of experience with the good and the bad, and she's done a lot of work with sales use, withholding taxes, and developing taxpayer outreach programs, and we're very happy to have her with us today.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sarah Russell. I am a Treasury Taxpayer Outreach Coordinator, and we do specialize in providing education to the public on important state tax topics. What we want to let you know today is that Michigan taxpayers should choose qualified tax preparers to ensure that their tax returns are completed correctly and appropriately. Doing so will also provide assurance that your tax return will be properly filed and processed. Now, under Michigan state law, taxpayers are responsible for the content within their tax return and any additional payments, penalties, and interest resulting from a taxpayer's or a tax preparer's error. Unqualified tax preparers may also overlook legitimate deductions and credits that could result in a taxpayer not getting the right amount of refund owed or paying more than they should have. And while the state of Michigan does not require tax preparers to be licensed, many of them are. Asking questions is well worth your time to make sure that you have a tax preparer that has the appropriate skill level to meet your needs and get your tax return done at an affordable price. So some tips that we'd like to share with you before engaging in the services of a tax preparer. Asking what kind of tax training they have. Probably formal tax training is best. Do you have any professional licenses, such as a certified public accountant or an enrolled agent or a registered accounting practitioner? Things like this. Also, do they take continuing professional education classes each year, and how many hours do they take? How long have they been preparing tax returns? Have they ever done a tax return like your situation? How much are they charging, and how do they determine those fees are also important questions to ask. Are they open year-round, or are they available for you if you have a problem later? Do they offer e-filing services? If you're audited or receive a determination from Treasury that indicates that there was a problem or that you owe, are they willing and authorized to represent you? How else do they stand behind their work? And if that refund that you're anticipating is going to be direct deposit, where is that going? Is it coming to your personal account, or is it going to an account owned by that preparer or their company? Also, try to avoid a tax preparer who claims they can obtain larger refunds than other preparers or any other sort of guaranteed results. Also avoid a tax preparer who is basing their fees on a percentage of the amount of your refund. Choose someone who you can reach after that tax return is filed and who is responsive to your needs, who's taking your phone calls and answering your questions, whether it's before your tax return is prepared or after. And of course, check with the Better Business Bureau in your area for reviews and complaints. Do your due diligence to check on that business before you engage in their services. Some final reminders, taxpayers are responsible for the accuracy of all information on their tax return. Don't sign your tax return until you've thoroughly reviewed it. Make sure all of your personal information is correct, including that bank information for the direct deposit. Never sign a blank form, never sign in pencil. A tax preparer can be allowed to discuss the tax return with Treasury if that authorization box is checked on the return. If it's not, you can also do a power of attorney form with Treasury later to have them discuss the issue if something comes up. Tax preparers must sign the tax return and fill in the preparer area of the form and provide you with a copy. So don't walk out of the door from a tax appointment without a copy of that return as it's been filed, and keep a copy of that and review it for future reference. E-filed returns are usually processed faster than paper returns, but they still may be subject to review, and you can rely on Treasury for the return processing timeframes, not the preparer. Individual income tax payers can check their refund status online by going to michigan.gov/where's-my-refund. And I'll finish here with just some interesting income tax facts from the 2019 filing season. We received more than 5.1 million tax returns. About 85% of those were e-filed, and that's about 4.3 million. Also, almost 3.9 million refunds were issued, accounting for $2.1 billion. And the average refund last year was $557. The ability to claim a refund for the 2015 tax year expires April 15th, 2020, because we have a 4-year statute of limitations. And that's what I have for you today.
So next is the real reason you guys are here. Right? Don't humor me. I know it's for the people with the guns and the badges. There's nothing more satisfying than when a bad guy. It's one thing to take them to court or to hold their account in suspension, but there's nothing more satisfying than when a tax criminal, somebody who's preyed on innocent people, gets put away in handcuffs and goes off to jail. Our next speaker, Chief James Craig, he's been police chief in Portland, Maine, in Cincinnati. He's been with the LAPD for many years and gave that up to come here. So we very much appreciate that, and we're very grateful to have him here speaking and helping us get the word out. So, Chief Craig, thank you so much.
Good morning. Yeah, I did. It's true. I did leave beautiful, sunny, 80-degree weather to look out and fight the cold. But I'm not complaining. I'm happy to be home, and it's no place like being in Detroit. But this is a real issue, and I'm going to probably repeat some of what you've already heard. But it really is good to be here today with representatives from the IRS, Better Business Bureau, serving Eastern Michigan, and stand here together against fraudulent tax preparers. But let me be clear. The people who engage in this sort of crime are common thieves. This is a serious crime that preys upon innocent people, and particularly our senior community. Our department, as in every crime, we will not tolerate these types of crimes. We will aggressively focus on and help our community. If someone does find himself as a victim of this crime, our officers are here to assist, taking this statement so that we can work closely with the IRS on the next steps. I'm going to talk about some stats. People like stats, and I will say this is just isolated to the Detroit Police Department. And when we look at our crime trends associated with this type of fraud, fortunately, we're trending downward. But certainly our numbers are much smaller than you might hear from the speaker following me. So by example, identity theft related to tax fraud. 2017, there were 111 investigations. In 2018, 64. And then in 2019, 51. Refund theft, and this is related to the ghost preparers that was already mentioned. 2017, 24. 2018, 23. And then 2019, 25. So you can see I'm talking about relatively small numbers, but we are in the business of investigating any and all crimes. But we recognize the importance of the collaborative efforts. We also found in some cases that people are getting their taxes prepared by people they do not know, and later discovered that their refund check has been allegedly cashed by an unknown person. So as it's already been said, I'm urging all residents, use a certified tax preparer. I do. And many times when you go to a reputable firm, you're going to pay more money, but it's money well spent. Additionally, it's important, again, to read over your return carefully and make sure before signing that the address on the file and the bank account is correct, that the money's being sent to. So, in closing, I just simply say, if there's a problem, the Detroit Police Department is here to assist. I truly believe that the key to our success, our city's success, comes in the collaboration such as this with the IRS and the Better Business Bureau. So again, thank you very much, and let's have a beneficial, safe tax season by working together and following the rules. Thanks.
finally, we have our special agent in charge here for the IRS Criminal Investigations Office. Now, IRS is split. We have the civil side, and they're the guys that, the revenue agents that ask you for the money, the revenue officers who do the auditing, the people in IT, all those people are on the civil side. And then we have the cool kids on the criminal investigation side. And she's in charge of the cool kids here in Michigan. The special agents in Michigan track down these people who do commit this kind of fraud and make sure that we put them in jail where they belong. So Sarah Cole has been with the IRS for 20 years, originally from Wisconsin. She's been at different posts around the country, primarily in DC, and she's with us here today. We're thankful to have her. Sarah.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Sarah Cull, and as Louise said, I'm the special agent in charge for IRS Criminal Investigations Detroit Field Office. My office is responsible for criminal tax enforcement and other financial crimes committed within the state of Michigan. Criminal investigation is the criminal enforcement division of the IRS and the only federal law enforcement agency with the authority to investigate tax crimes. We have 6 posted duties throughout the state which provide enforcement coverage across the upper and lower peninsulas. As you're aware, the filing season began this week, and many of you will be seeking out a preparer to assist in filing your tax returns. Today, I want to help you in selecting a good preparer and warn you of the red flags of bad tax return preparers. And this information all comes from different cases that we've investigated throughout the years and different red flags that we've seen. Some of these red flags of bad tax return preparers include the return preparer claims they can guarantee larger refunds than other preparers. The return preparer charges a fee based on percentage of the client's refund, or they're only accepting cash for payment, or the return preparer claims fees will be paid prior to receiving your refund without any further explanation. If a return preparer asks you to sign a blank tax return, do not do it because anything could be put on that return. The return preparer should review the tax return with you line by line before requesting you to sign it. If the return preparer does not ask for supporting documentation related to all income, expenses, or deductions, this is definitely something you want to watch out for. The return preparer should provide you a full copy of your tax return, including all the schedules, worksheets, etc. It is an issue, though, if they give you a copy and the copy is not signed by the preparer, including their PTIN. Questions to ask yourself when looking for a return preparer. Is the return preparer's office open year-round? How will they provide audit assistance if they're closed? If they're open, will they provide audit assistance? Does the return preparer operate their business at a brick and mortar or only virtually? And would you be able to locate them if needed again? Does the return preparer have a website? If so, take a close look at this website. Look to see if there's any client reviews and read those reviews. Are there misspelled words? We see a lot of times there's a website, a lot of misspelled words on the website. Also watch out for websites that include pictures of large bundles of cash or people posing with large refund checks. That's definitely a red flag. Talking about websites, social media platforms has become a large advertisement arena for tax return preparers. And this year, IRS Criminal Investigation is already aware of suspicious advertisements that we are seeing out there on social media. Some of the things that we pick out that we have considered red flags and we're taking a closer look at with these particular preparers this year, there's statements on the social media platforms such as, I will get you the max legally, and you don't have to leave your house. Bring your friends, I pay referral fees. Every time you refer a friend, you'll get $60 in cash. File for half off with no explanation of what the actual preparation fee is. So there's no way to know what half off is. One of my favorites is free estimates. What does that mean? What's being estimated? Your tax liability is calculated, determined by the laws of the Internal Revenue Code. So I'm not sure how they're going to estimate your tax return. Other statements such as you have 3 years to report losses in your business before the IRS considers it a hobby. Just some of those statements to watch out for. As mentioned, there are some resources available for choosing a tax return preparer. The number one, which you've heard multiple times already this morning, is our website, irs.gov. This website is available for help 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's a directory of federal tax return preparers on irs.gov. The directory contains return preparers with active PTINs, including enrolled agents, CPAs, attorneys, enrolled retirement plan agents, enrolled actuaries, and annual filing season program participants. You're also able to check the status of an enrolled agent by emailing the IRS at epp@irs.gov. If you experience return preparer misconduct or allegations of tax law violations, what do? Report it. We want to know about it. You've heard multiple different ways already on how to report it. To report it directly to IRS criminal investigation here in Michigan, we have an email address set up, and it is detroitfieldoffice@ci.irs.gov. You can additionally, you can report alleged tax law violations by using a form 3949A. On the form, it includes faxing and mailing instructions. And to report tax return preparer misconduct, complete form 14157, which is a complaint tax return preparer, and you can send it to the return preparer's office in Atlanta, Georgia. Those forms can be found on irs.gov. But again, if you have violations, misconduct to report in the state of Michigan, report it straight to us at criminal investigation at detroitfieldoffice@ci.irs.gov. Some of the examples that we're looking for here that we've investigated and continue to investigate is individuals filing a Form 1040 without your knowledge or consent. Altering your tax return documents. So if they're changing, for example, your W-2s around, we want to hear about that. If the return preparer is attempting to generate a larger refund by using incorrect filing status, creating false exemptions or dependents, creating or omitting income, or creating false expenses, deductions, or credits, please report that to us. Another example of misconduct is misdirecting your refund. Remember, ensure the bank account on the return is your bank account versus a bank product or unknown bank account. A recent example of a case that we've prosecuted here in Michigan, Gary Harrison was a certified public accountant who owned and operated Gary Y. Harrison and Company, a tax return preparation business, which was located in Inkster, Michigan. From 2010 through 2014, Harrison filed tax returns with the IRS on behalf of his clients, charging up to $925 per fraudulent return. He falsified these returns in order to inflate the client's refunds or to obtain refunds to which they were not entitled. In some cases, he would create an actual Schedule C business for clients to facilitate the scheme. In this past April 2019, Gary Harrison was sentenced to 30 months in prison after being found guilty at trial of 25 counts of preparing false federal income tax returns. It's important to note that even if a return preparer is found guilty of fraud, the return preparer's clients, you, the taxpayer, are responsible for all the information on your return. Therefore, it's imperative you review your return with your preparer and agree to the information on the return is accurate before you sign and submit to file it with the IRS. Thank you.
And finally, I think the single most powerful thing we can do to get the word out is to have some people who are brave enough to come up and tell their story, and have your viewers, your readers, your listeners understand that, hey, if this could happen to them, it can happen to me. It could happen to my mom, it could happen to my brother. Their story is, I'll let them tell their story, but their story is one that can happen anywhere. And Ernest Sumter and Rosalind Johnson, if you just give us the story of what happened, and then for those of you from the media, once they're done telling their story, we're going to make all of ourselves available for interviews, but we'll start with your story. Come on up. if you'd like to both come, or?
Well, we had this tax lady. I live at 430 East Warren in Detroit. We had this tax lady that came in the building, was doing taxes, and she was charging everybody all the seniors $50 to do the taxes, and she, like refund was pretty nice, and I was wondering how she was getting all this money, but she would falsify the information, and she did this on the year of 17. When she did the taxes, everything was okay. Now on the 18th, the year of 2018, when I received my refund, I didn't get it. She sent it to her account and written out a check. And I asked her, what was this? And she said, your refund. I said, why is it not coming from the state? She said, do it matter? I said, yes. So I called the state and asked them to send. Let me back up for a minute. During the year of 18, she didn't even ask me to do my taxes. She just did them on her own and brought me a check. And so when I called the state and asked them to send me some information, a copy of my return, I seen that she had falsified a lot of information on there to get more money, and she was keeping the proceeds. And I obtained a lawyer, and taken her to court to try to get her for fraud. So we still in court right today.
And she took that money, had it deposited in her account.
Into her account, and written out a check. Yes.
Thank you. We very much appreciate it. And Rosalind, if you could tell us briefly.
Yes, just like Ernest said, the same thing happened with me in 2017, and then in 2018. I haven't pursued taking her to court or anything like that, but I also called, and she gave me a figure, and but then I called the state, and they told me that they gave me another figure, so it was two different figures, one from her and one from the state. And so, like I said, I haven't pursued her, tried to take her to court or anything like that, but I am a witness that she's been doing that to a lot of other people in my building and all around our community, and it's bad to have someone doing that to seniors. We're not trying to get money from her or anything like that, but we just need her to stop, because seniors, we don't have a lot of money, and for someone to just come to us and play on us like that is really bad. And so we just want something to be done and to stop her from what she's doing.
Can you kind of describe this person? Describe, how convincing and smooth and professional they seem?
Yes. I guess when 2017, it was a lot different because we got a check from the state, and then 2018, it's a paper check, like Mr. Sumter said, that it was a paper check, and it was for her bank account. It was in her bank account.
And to piggyback on her answer, what she did, she came into the building and she got close to one of the seniors, so she could vouch for her. And that's what and once she started vouching for her, then everybody went to her for service. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. Very much appreciate you protect themselves. And if there's any of you want any additional questions or have any additional questions or anything that you'd like from us, we're available for interview. But right now I'm going to say thank you for coming, and this concludes our press conference, and help us spread the word and protect people. Thank you so much.
Can we have your name and title?
Sure. Luis Garcia, Luis Garcia, spokesman.